Hello, my name is David Aiken, your conversion rate optimization specialist. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to do a conversion rate optimization audit on your website. I really appreciate it. What you're going to see included in this package is, first of all, this video, of course. This video is meant to provide you deeper detail into the list of bullet points I provided you, the second attachment you have. That list of bullet points is meant to serve as an overall guide, but also as a checklist. So you can check each item off as you implement them. Together, they're meant to give a clear guide to either yourself if you're making these changes or to your design and development team so they have a good idea of what they should do. In the video, I'll be providing you with examples of how things should look like. In the document, I give you ideas of what they should say if it's content based. So let's go ahead and get started. By the way, in that document, from time to time, I go back and I find things that were just written strange. I've had several strokes and I have to do everything speech to text now. I don't have control over my fingers. So if you find any of those, I'm very sorry. I'm just doing my best to work with what I've been given. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with your homepage. Well, in this case, the landing page for the conceivable report. Um, we're going to go top to bottom of this page, your product page, and your checkout process as requested on both desktop and mobile. So let's go ahead and get rolling. All right, so there's really two ways that your visitors are going to interact with your hero shot. The hero shot is this screen you're seeing right now without scrolling in any direction. One is called the F pattern, the other is called the Z pattern. And they are based on the letters of the English alphabet. Older people like myself, I'm nearly 50 now, we were raised reading our content line by line. So whether it be a book, a newspaper, a magazine, we're just used to all of this text being delivered to us. So we use the F pattern where we look up here in the upper left-hand corner first. We go straight across the top. We then come down to the next piece of content and read it. Your younger visitors, which are likely more your customers for this particular product, still conceivable age, right? They were raised with the internet as the main source of content that they've interacted with, or the main source of media. So they start up here too. We both look in this upper left-hand corner first because that's how we've been taught to read. They then scan across the top again because it's how they've been taught to read. Come down at an angle and back across the bottom. Remember, they're used to large blocks of content. Okay. The reason I'm taking the time to explain this really comes down to our top bar and our header arrangements in order to get them to read our messaging. So we technically want to bump our logo over. Think of this as a line sheet of paper, and this is your margin, maybe about an inch, inch and a half over. Okay, it would look more like this. Okay, then keep negative space like you have between the two. But we want as much negative space as we can get. That's why we're bumping it this direction, and then bump it as tightly over here as you can. Okay, because that negative space is what allows our bright colored top bar to pull their attention up and get them to read a key message. Okay, one of the things we want to be careful of is having our key message point be, well, it's kind of a negative positive, right? We are saying that you get your best period in 90 days or your money back. Well, money back isn't exactly what we want to be talking about right now. It is a confidence builder, but at the top, we really want to be providing some sort of offer to incentivize. A good offer includes a reason, a compelling discount or incentive, and an expiration date. The expiration date serves to validate the reason and to create urgency. Okay, so I'm going to give you an idea of content throughout this process, but understand I'm not a content writer, so have your team modify as necessary. But I would do something simple, just like spring sale, say 20% or Whatever this discount calculates out to, I didn't calculate it. But first time buyers save that amount through this month and this day. So through May 20th or whatever date we set. Okay. Um, we get them to read that, then they have an incentive to buy sooner rather than later. So we want our logo bumped over just a little bit and our navigation pressed that way. But overall, they're in the right positions, and then keep your header sticky. That's what it means when we scroll down, and it keeps with us so we can always grab our navigation. Okay. As we go into the bulk of the hero shot, that's our image and our messaging. We've done a good job with the imagery. It's appropriate. Our messaging is talking about our main message. This is what's really meant to tug at their heartstrings or get them really wanting to use your service or get your report. We're just using it to identify who we are. Um, that's like opening up to plumbers in the yellow pages, and the main message you see is, I am a plumber. There's no compelling reason to choose that plumber, right? So we're going to switch over to a 3 headline setup. One's called a super headline, which you do not have, and I'll show you examples of. Then we've got your headline and your sub headline. Okay. A super headline looks like this. It's little bursts of information, in this case divided by pipes. Okay, that's that little line. And what we're going to do is start to quantify what they're going to get. So we're going to say 10 to 15 page report, improve fertility, reduce miscarriage likeliness, or something like that. Then in our headline, we're going to try to identify with what they're going through. So we're going to say something like, stop the heartbreak dash, understand how to increase fertility and minimize chances of miscarriage. Okay. So I've learned very quickly on and very early on in the process that this is a 10 to 15 page report. So it's thorough. It's going to help me improve my fertility and reduce miscarriage likeliness. On a more emotional point, it's going to help me stop the heartbreak and understand how to increase fertility and minimize chances of miscarriage. Then in our subheadline, we're going to want to support that claim with some of the information that we have. So we're going to say the first personalized and evidence-based approach to better fertility and reduced miscarriage for only $99.95. In your case, since it's such an emotional purchase, right? If a family is struggling with this problem, it's painful, and your pricing is extraordinarily reasonable. We want to get that established early on so that as they are scrolling the rest of our page, they know they can afford to buy what we're offering. Okay. So super headline, headline, sub headline. Your sub headline is, of course, the one you already have. Okay. Your button, learn more is the correct call to action to have on there, but the button should not be a ghost button. That's what's making it transparent. Um, Technically, it should be a bright contrasting color. So your pink would be appropriate down here. Um, Pull their attention to that button. Ghost buttons like this, especially with Learn More text, are often used as a way to drive someone to a blog post from a blog row on our homepage, where it's a second or a third level call out, not our main one. We want it to be a strong, bright color. Okay. From there, I'd like you to add a row of credibility builders right across the bottom. And that's going to look like this. It's an icon and a short description. Um, I'm going to bore you a little bit with a story about how this came about, but it's very important to understand, and it's something that we are going to be utilizing all throughout your site. So I feel like it warrants the time it takes to explain it. So sit back for a moment. We're gonna take travel back in time to early media. Okay. In this case, we're talking about early magazines and newspapers, and we're just going to use early magazines as the example. If you were to open up to an article in an early magazine, you would have a much different experience than you do today. Early publishers felt like their customers or subscribers in this case were paying to read their content. So they stuffed every word they could on a page. And they're having some success selling the concept and the idea of their magazine, but they had a high churn rate, which is just a fancy way of saying cancellation rate. Because people had subscribed, they got talked into it by a solid salesperson. Um, but then they found they weren't really reading the articles. It became a bill that had no value, so they would cancel. Um, so early magazines, and for this case, newspapers and all print media, were in trouble um, because if people don't subscribe, of course, they don't have the money to make payroll and do the things they've got to do. So they started to experiment. Today, we call experimenting split testing, A/B testing, or multivariant testing, depending on what school you came up on. But the concept's very simple. I am going to give you an example of experiments that were done in early magazines. But I'm going to use fake numbers. They're just easier to remember. So they send out one experiment, which was their current format, which is, remember, all these columns of paragraph text. And then they send out 1,000, again, fake numbers, but 1,000 magazines in their new experiment format, which was paragraph text plus a relevant picture. They then polled their customers. And what they learned is those customers who received the version with the picture had a much higher read rate, or they were much more likely to have read that article than those that didn't. And honestly, it makes sense. As people, we are drawn to images like a magnet. The second we see one, we look at it. We also absorb information from an image nearly immediately. We're trying to get that image in their mind by writing a paragraph about it. It's very difficult. And if you have 10 different readers, they're going to come up with 10 different versions of that image. So what would happen is people would open up to that article, they'd see the picture. That picture drove more interest in the article, which increased read rate, or the amount people read the article. Having read the articles, that created more value in the magazine to the subscriber. So it reduced cancellation or churn rate and kept money coming in. Okay. As we get down the road a little, pretty soon everybody's doing it, all magazines, newspapers, and even today, if you open up to an article, I'm willing to bet you're going to see a picture there. I'm also willing to bet you're going to look at that picture before you start reading anything. All right. It's just how we're wired, right? So we get down the road a little bit and they decide to run another experiment. This time it's picture plus article text versus picture plus caption plus article text. And the picture plus caption plus article text version won out because that caption wasn't a big commitment. They'd look at the picture, they'd read that little one sentence caption. Now, granted, this is before captions became photographer credits due to all the lawsuits. They used to be just a quick sentence explaining what was happening in the picture. So people, again, would open up to that article, they'd see the picture, they'd read the caption. Again, it's not a big commitment. That helped them understand what was happening in the picture better. Understanding the picture better helped motivate them to read the article text. Reading the article text increased the value. Increasing the value, of course, decreased churn rate or cancellation rate, and kept magazines and newspapers in business, at least until today. Okay, so that's a lot of explaining to tell you that this little icon serves as the picture. This short description serves as the caption, and we have to limit the use of paragraph text as much as possible. Okay. There's a hierarchy to how people will read content. The most effective way to deliver content is an icon short description. We're just compelled to read it. The second most effective way is a headline plus bullet points, and then the least likely content to be read is paragraph text. Okay, so what should you do here? Well, I would say an icon, maybe of a little outline of a person, and personal customized plan. Then a ribbon with 100% satisfaction guarantee, and then an icon with money back guarantee. That's a powerful row. I am getting a personal customized plan they're going to back it with a satisfaction guarantee and a money back guarantee. Okay. So what have we accomplished? Well, if we've done this right, they land on our page, they see where we're at, depending on how, maybe they've seen our logo in our advertising, but we want them to know who we are. So they see that immediately as they're coming across. They're getting told that they've hit our page at the right time. They've caught us with a sell for first-time buyers, but it's only going to go through a certain month and day. So we create urgency. They then come back down and see our areas they can go to. As they're coming back across or down and across, depending on their age, they're learning that we're selling a 10 to 15 page report that improves fertility and reduces miscarriage likeliness. Then we're hitting them with an emotional punch, stop the heartbreak, understand how to increase fertility and minimize chances of miscarriage. And then our subheadline, which supports our headline, the first personalized and evidence-based approach to better fertility and reduce miscarriage for only $99.95. Then across the bottom, they're getting hit with our credibility builders. They're learning that they're going to get a personal customized plan. There's a 100% satisfaction guarantee and a money back guarantee. They also know where to go next with our button. So we've delivered all this important information about what having a sale going on, our guarantees, what they're going to get, our focus, get rid of this emotional pain. All of that's being delivered in just a few words, a sentence or two, really. And that's what we have to do. We have to make it very little effort for our visitors to interact with. Okay. It's kind of the concept you're doing with this scrolling 100% satisfaction guarantee. But the scroll effect actually really dates the website. It's not really used anymore, at least not in legitimate products. Okay, when I say legitimate products, you're still going to see it used for wild and crazy diet plans and their claims and things like that. But that's not us. Okay, we've then got something that's very important. We got a social proof row, which in this case is delivered in the form of recognizable logos. Again, I'm going to bore you with a lot of information here, so fast forward if you want to, but I want you to understand why this is important. Okay, if I was doing this report for you, I don't know, 15 years ago, I would have been telling you just go ahead and pull these off. They're a distraction, but that's because the people you're marketing to is a different generation. There's Generation X and above, and we were basically raised in a world where we learned to trust marketing messaging, whether it be on the TV, on the radio, in a newspaper, in a magazine, whatever. If it was on in media, we tended to believe it. It's why people were able to sell so many X-ray glasses through magazines back in the day to young men. Call it global, call it naive. It's just the world we were raised in, right? That's in stark contrast to the millennial generation and below. They have been raised in a world full of deception. Marketing messaging to them is an exaggeration at best and a downright lie at the worst. So they will not trust what we as the marketers tell them. They count on third party verification, or what today we call social proof. Okay. Um, Examples of social proof. One is recognizable logos. This is somebody else having had interaction with your business, and it makes people feel better. 5-star ratings, testimonials, video testimonials, social media interactions, anything that somebody else saying that brazen is, and specifically in this case, the conceivable report is good. Okay. The delivery of this is not. Okay. We are dedicating about 4 times the space to this that it deserves. There's a thing in the world called scroll fatigue. Okay, and it's pretty simple to understand. Basically, the further down you ask me to scroll, the less attention I'm paying and the faster I'm going. So space is a premium in today's distracted world. Okay, so I want your hero shot. We're going to move our content up and we're going to have our credibility builders right across here. I don't want all this to exist. What is all of this doing for us, right? It should be delivering this row by that point. This row should be full length and should have these logos on one row, and should be about the height of from the bottom of this blue bar to the top of your logos. That's all we should dedicate to it, because people aren't really researching it. They're not really looking at it all that heavy. They're just noticing it's there and moving on. Okay. Don't waste space with this. Now, it is okay to use a carousel the way you have the 100% guarantee scrolling. You can, if it's too wide, if these logos are all too wide to fit on, have it be. You should be able to find an image carousel for Shopify pretty simply, and it'll either let them manually click through it, or it'll sit there and every now and then, depending on what you set it to, it'll slide it, take off the first logo and slide in a new one. Okay. Reduce that row. We're going to get rid of this row altogether, and we're going to replace it with it's called the feature benefits row, but it's actually executed in a lot of different ways. Okay. In this case, this company is using it as an example to show ingredients. We're going to use it as an example to talk about all the different ways that we look at their fertility. Okay. So the best way to understand the strategy behind this row is this side is for your human visitors. Icons and short descriptions is how we want to receive information. This side is for a small percentage of your human visitors that like to read more, and search engines. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a brief description about why us and who we are. And a lot of that can come from your actual product page, or even this information here. Just reduce it. But instead of the conceivable report is for you, I would say something more like either the conceivable report looks at, or we look at 75 plus fertility factors including. Okay. Um, and then we're going to cover those here. We're going to say period characteristics, basal body temperature, your habits, your work, your environment, your stress level, exercise, weight, plus many more, right? Now, it'll be a little challenging for your designer to come up with icons for a few of those, but any designer worth their salt should be able to do it, no problem. But what we're starting to introduce them to is your problem can have many complexities to it. Okay. Then the next row that we want to deliver um, is how we help with it. Okay. Which in the report, I called the conceivable report is for you CTA row. So we've just established, wow, this is a complicated problem. Well, luckily, we have the solution. I wish there was more detail about what's included with the report here. Maybe even a couple excerpts from a fertility report, a couple of compelling ones that make me think, wow, this is pretty strong. Or a pop up that I can click and will pop up an example page. Maybe not a full report because we don't want to give away everything, but a compelling page from a report that makes me think, wow, this has a lot of stuff I can learn in it. Okay. Because remember, we're talking about how we're taking this very complicated problem and making it something they can manage. Okay. So we're going to break this down, utilize icons and short descriptions where you can, or of course, as mentioned before, headlines and bullet points. But if you're going to have your conceivable score, have a little icon of a score here, have a little hurdle here, have a little action item here. Grab their attention, because right now we've got this big block of dead space that's doing us no good. This looks attractive, so it's good. Okay. Change your button text from get your conceivable report to get your conceivable report, and then under here, so your button doesn't become awkwardly big, put only $99.95. Okay. We want to reemphasize that not only is this going to help you solve your fears and your problems, you can afford it. Okay. Um, so what have we done? Well, we've told them all the great stuff up here. We've said this is a complicated problem. Here's how we help it. Now we want to pull up the people believe in us. Okay. That it's helped people. This is a testimonials row. And I'd like that testimonials row to be just a little more compelling. By the way, this learn more is in a really awkward spot. It's a call to action in a supporting row. By supporting, I mean a testimonial. We should remove this one. Okay. Um, Let me show you what a testimonials row could look like for you that'll be a little more powerful than what we've got going on right now. Right here, we've got testimonials. They've got a few written testimonials. They are being pulled directly from Google, so you know they're legitimate. Then they've got a video. Okay. Video testimonials are the king of testimonials. And if you can get one of your clients that you've helped become pregnant to give you a testimonial, it would be very powerful to the women or men that are shopping your page to see that this was legitimate. Now, a testimonial is not a commercial. It's not them, having that bigger than life personality and volume. It's about them sincerely sharing with the visitors their experience. Okay. It should talk about how clear the report was, how simple it was to integrate into their life, and how effective the end results were. Okay. When you get that video, should be under a minute or less, by the way. Don't just embed it. You're going to end up with their eyes half closed and their mouth half open. It'll look like they need medical attention, and we don't want to do that to anybody. Um, Play it until they look normal and hit pause. Take a screenshot, add the picture of a play button, a little text, and a design element. This is just a picture. When I click play, it loads the video. Okay. So we have right now, we've had told them what we do, that we're affordable. We've said, here's all the areas. It's complicated. Here's all the areas we're evaluating. Here's the product we're going to use to solve this problem. Here's other people saying how great we are. Okay. That you can trust us. Again, that's another form of social proof. And we want as many of those touches as we can possibly get. Okay. We've then got the 3 steps row, which the only real recommendation I have for this row um, is use bullet points. So assess, and then 2 or 3 bullet points, 2 or 3 bullet points, 2 or 3 bullet points. It's far more likely, your content's far more likely to be read that way. We've then got, after watching it, what I learned is a very compelling video. The problem is we are relying on a video to deliver that content. And you need to understand not everybody can watch a video all the time. I may be feeling discouraged and taking a second away from my duties at work to do some research. I may be on a bus, I may be on a train, um, I may have kids screaming. There's a million reasons. I may not have headphones connected to or speakers on my computer. There's a million reasons why people don't or can't watch a video. Doesn't mean we shouldn't have it here, but it does mean your video should be on one side and either icons and short descriptions or a headline and bullet points covering all the major components that are covered in this video over here for those that can't watch it. Okay. I would use a pretty strong headline with it. Something like how brazen has helped 7,000 plus women increase the likelihood of natural conception by 150 to 260% in less than 4 months. That's longer than I normally like, but man, is that a powerful statistic or what? And this is for $100. It's a compelling argument. Okay. We've then got our expert testimonial, which is good as is the meet the founder row. We've then got our reviews, your newsletter, and then between the newsletter and the footer, I know we have to have this disclaimer, but I want you to put a final call to action row, which is going to restate your super headline, headline, subheadline, your learn more button, as well as your credibility builders, so that it's a small percentage of our traffic that makes it down here. But those that do, we want to give it one last shot to get them to get in our sales funnel and um, look at our product page. Okay. Let's go ahead and pop up and give you just some advice on implementing. The good news is that for your particular project, the majority of the recommendations I've made will automatically apply on mobile. Um, it's just the way Shopify works. So we got our offer up here. Just going to say first time buyers save 10% through this month and day. Try to keep it from wrapping to 2 lines. Okay. Logo's in the right place. We're going to have our super headline, our sub headline, our learn more is going to be a strong color. And then we're going to have our credibility builders, but this time they're not going to be listed horizontally. They're going to be stacked one on top of the other. So it's, remember, the personalized custom report, the satisfaction and money back guarantee, all in rows. Okay. From there, we can actually make our icons much bigger because they're just crossed here in a flip box that I can actually swipe with my thumb. Okay. Then we're going to have our feature benefits row. I want you to deliver the icon short descriptions first, generally 2 or 3 at a time. If 4 at a time still able to be read, you can do that, but we don't want them to strain too hard. Okay. From there, we're going to hit them with our conceivable report, which we got the image coming first, which is correct. A little more detail, icon, short description, and the price added here as discussed for above. We're going to move these to bullet points so they're more likely to be read. The video row is going to be video first, and then the icon short descriptions covering the items in there second. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to mention we're moving up that learn more or the testimonials row, but that will follow. The rest of the content's going to stay the same with your final call to action being squeezed in here. Okay. All right, cool. Let's hop into our product page. Images are fantastic. Your headline's in the right place. I generally recommend having your reviews below your pricing. With your pricing, make this original price light gray with a slash through it, and avoid using red for your sell price. It's a minor issue and it affects a minor percentage. But if we're going to do this, we should really try to impact everyone we can, right? Remember that red means warning, it means caution. More importantly, it reads financial loss or being in the red. Okay. The next line is very confusing where we're talking about shipping calculated at checkout. I now get confused on what the product is. And there is no shipping as I went through the checkout process. This should be commented out altogether. Our shop pay is good. Our add to cart button, well, above it, we want to add those credibility builders. So customized report, money back guarantee, satisfaction guarantee. Make this a bright contrasting color, which could be your blues, burnt oranges, even your pink would be acceptable. Below here, put your credit card payments you accept. And that's just going to be, let me see, I didn't look at the bottom to see if you have it here. Goodness, no, we don't. You know the little credit card icons, Visa, MasterCard, American Express. We're just going to put those icons, at least the big 5, across here, so that as they are thinking about buying it, they're starting to get motivationally ready. They're reminded of their guarantees and protections, and they see that you accept the payment types that they have available. Remember, we want to deliver content like this with bullet points and headlines. We also need to, what I do is I just go copy all your content and throw it in Grammarly or something. Um, we have a misspelling of conception on a conception paste page. So we'll want to make sure that that's all correct. Okay. Um, remove the reviews from the side column here that have me scrolling with no content over here. Plus, once we get down, we have them anyway. Okay. The other thing we have to stay aware of errors on our page. Money back guarantee works fine. None of the rest do. So if I want to learn that information, I can't. So I was like, okay, maybe I can go to the FAQ page to learn about that information, which is broken. Okay. Big concerns there. Either remove it or fix it. Okay. You've then got your recommended selling and your reviews. Now, for the mobile page, all of these recommendations that I provided you are going to apply. So there's no problem there. I would like to see on mobile this image reduced and this space here reduced so that your add to cart button shows above the fold. Again, headlines with bullet points instead of paragraph text, it's more likely to be read. And then make sure your content's right and make sure your FAQs work. Okay. All right. Went to add to cart, and I was glad for the sidebar checkout. It's the right way. As also, you are maybe the second client in well over 300 of these that I've done that has a single page checkout. So my big lecture I give you on all the reasons why you should have it, I get to put on the table. In the document, I have included a list of the reasons why people abandon cart. It's generally industry wide, about 70% of customers abandon the cart. And that's because they were kind of casual at first, they weren't really serious. But you're in good shape as far as hitting that list. You'll see you're covering most of them. The one recommendation I have for your cart, and I looked at it on both desktop and mobile, it's both very clean on either or. It comes down to abandoned cart software. Most people are either not using abandoned cart software or they're using old technology, which is email based, meaning somebody started to check out, they dropped out, and then I don't know, 30 minutes later or whatever you set it to, you send out an email saying, did you forget something? Right? And you maybe offer them a small discount to come back and finish checking out. The problem with that is email is not used that way anymore. Um, while people are still fairly compulsive about checking email, they skim over it for recognizable names or companies that they do business with, not maybe one that they started to shop out with. It's for work and it's spam, right? Today, if we want to communicate directly with somebody, we text. So I provided you a link to a texting based version of abandoned cart software so that you can communicate with them in the way that you want. There's several out there. Feel free to do your research. Okay. The last thing I did is I went and did a speed optimization on your chat or a speed test on your website. And bummer, we scored a D. Okay. Speed is the most critical factor in one of the most critical factors in conversion. And yours is a little deceptive. And let me just show you why. We've got a first contentful paint of under 2 milliseconds. That's extremely fast. But what I'm seeing is a little load screen, right? My actual load, where I'm actually getting information I can start to make a decision on, is up over 2 seconds. It should be under 1 second. Okay. I don't get my picture until almost 3.5 seconds. These are all concerns. My speed index or your speed index is a 2.6. needs to be under a 1.3 for Google to give you the proper scoring as far as search engine optimization and the lowest advertising costs they give. Um, our time to interactive, which means how long it takes the whole page to load and be clickable, is almost 5 seconds. That should be under 2.5. All of this comes back to tell you that what you really need to consider doing is hiring a page speed optimization specialist, because as you can see, there's information of what's wrong, but unless you're very technical, you probably won't know how to avoid long main thread tasks. Okay. And by going in and trying to fix these, you can actually break the site more than you fix it. So, um, yeah, so really do consider hiring a page speed optimization specialist. I put a document or a link in the document to a very good article helping you understand the importance of speed going forward. Google recently released a new algorithm that has put speed very high in their priorities as far as how they're going to rank you. Okay. So at this point, I often get asked, Dave, can you just do these for me? Which I wish I could say yes, but as mentioned before, my strokes have made it so I can't type anymore, and it's very difficult to code and type by voice. Um, so that's how I landed doing this. Um, if you need help, there is a guy in Toronto who approached me some time ago and said, look, I see you doing a lot. I want to learn how to implement your strategies if you'll tell clients about me. So if you need help, I know somebody who you can trust to do it. If not, I am standing by to answer any questions that I can. Please reach out through Fiverr. That's how they ask us to communicate. And I like to honor that request. They've been very good to me. All right. We will chat soon. Thank you again for the opportunity.